Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce week 5 to you. So if you scroll down here to July 2nd, July the 8th, this is week 5. We're going to be looking at large numbers, possessive adjectives, giving directions, and making plans. Okay, you're going to want to study pages 82 to 100 in your text, and you're going to want to review pages 58 to 69. After completing this week's work, you should be able to discuss your classes, count up to 1 billion, and talk about things that belong to you and to other people using possessive adjectives. You should also be able to exchange information about classes and talk about how you and others feel. You should be able to make plans with someone else, be able to ask for and give simple directions. You should be able to distinguish between the verbs ser and estar and know in which situations to use each one. You should know what the irregular verbs ir and hacer mean and how to use them correctly in the present tense. You should also be able to use greeting, nationality, and classroom vocabulary, as well as adjectives, adjective agreement rules, regular present tense verbs, and regular present tense verb conjugation rules to describe with native to near native fluency an important person in your life. This week's work addressed student learning outcomes 1, 2, 3, and 5, and all of this week's work is due by July the 5th. Okay, so oral dialogue 2 preparation. You did a work, here I'll go back up here. The week before week 4, you did a workshop for your oral dialogue in which you had to write out what you wanted to say in your oral dialogue. I'm going to take this workshop and move it down here. Where am I? It'll be right here. And when you open it up this time, you're not writing anything. You'll see somebody else's script, and all you're supposed to do is go through and critique it. And I will also be going through and critiquing everybody's scripts. And then the next week, week 6, it will get moved down and you'll be able to see the feedback, and you'll use that feedback to record your oral dialogue too. Okay. You also want to start off this week by looking at your instructor-made videos. Okay, so you've got videos on possessive adjectives, large numbers, expressions with tener, chapter 3 vocabulary, ir and hacer, estar, ser and estar. Okay, so you'll watch all of these videos, and after you've done that, then you'll go into the class participation forum, just like every other week. Click on the thread, hit reply, and you'll post any questions or concerns you have about the material covered in those videos. And if you don't have any questions or concerns, then you need to write that as well. But remember, this is a way for you to check in with me and for me to check in with you. So you have to post something to get, this is a grade, so you have to post something, and if you don't post anything, you will get a 0. Okay, so if we go back out to the site, you're going to have test 4, which is a test on the second half of chapter 2, which I'll talk about in a minute. Writing assignment 1, you last week also had a workshop in which you wrote your first writing assignment. I'm going to move that workshop down here. You will click on it, and when you open it up, you're going to see somebody else's writing that's been assigned to you, and you will use the embedded rubric and the feedback box to give them feedback about their writing, and someone else will be doing the same for you, and I will also be going through those. You also, because this is a shortened class, I'm sorry that some of these assignments start piling up on top of each other, you're going to need to prep for oral dialogue 3. So you've got another workshop, but this one you're writing your dialogue, you're not critiquing anybody's. So you're just going to write out what you would say, what you plan to say in the next few weeks. So you're going to write down your schedule, your class schedule in Spanish, as well as the schedule as one other person you know. And so you're going to, in your script that you'll eventually say orally, talk about the classes that you're taking, the classes that your friend or acquaintance takes, any classes you have in common, the days and times and places where your classes meet, a description and your opinion of the classes. If, since this is summer session, you don't feel like maybe I'm the only class that you're taking, then I would talk about fall semester or what you're going to be taking in the spring so that you have more classes to talk about rather than just one. Okay. So when you're ready, you'll hit prepare, you'll hit start preparing your submission, and you'll write your submission here. The next week, again, you'll see the workshop and you'll be able to critique someone's while they go through and critique yours. Okay. You also have a reading comprehension quiz this week. So if you open it up, there are passages that you're going to need to read, and when you're ready, you'll hit Start Attempt. The passages are here as well, so you'll read through them, and then you're going to answer the questions. Again, remember, this is fill in the blank. Fill in the blank have to be graded manually. Like, the computer will grade them, but like I've told you before, if it asks for a number and you write out the number, and I wrote the number in, like, for example, here, maybe it's number 10 on the billboard. If I wrote out the number 10, but you write out TEN, the computer's going to count you wrong, but I would go back in and manually give you back those points, okay? So just be patient. Your scores will probably be low here unless you do it exactly the way that I did. I do know this, and I will go in and adjust scores. The true false, though, however, the computer should be able to grade correctly. So once you're done with that, you're going to hit Finish Attempt, and since this is a quiz, you only get one attempt. So do not start it until you're ready, okay? You also have assignment 7. You're going to visit my language labs, and you're going to complete these SAM activities and these extra practice activities. So if I go out here to my today's view and I go over to July, and click on July the 5th, all of those assignments will pop up. Okay, if I click on July the 5th, all of those assignments will pop up in the middle. You just click on each one, and then you do whatever the assignment asks you to do. Remember, you can do it as many times as you would like before the due date. So here's a drop down. So you would just click what the response would be and hit Finish and Submit for grading when you're done. Remember that all of these assignments can be attempted as many times as you would like before the assignment's due date, but if you're doing it more than 3 times and you're still struggling with it, that's when I would advise reaching out to me so that I can help you, because there's no need for you to do an assignment 10 times. It means that you're just not understanding the directions, or you're struggling with some other aspect of the assignment and you probably need my help. Okay. All right, so let's go in and look at Test 4, Chapter 2. Again, you've got 3 hours, 1 attempt, because this is a test, so don't start it until you're ready. Okay, so you've got los deberes. Do you know the difference between tener and tener que? So you've got a few questions where you're deciding whether to use tener or tener que. That's not the only piece of it, though. You need to conjugate whether you use just tener or tener que. You still need to change the spelling of your tener to reflect who it is that either has to do something or has something, okay? So there's quite a few of those. Then completemos las frases. You're given multiple choice here. Just pick. You can write A, B, etc. in the blanks here. You pick the verb choice that best completes the sentence. Then más verbos here. You're given a word bank of verbs. You want to pick the verb that best completes the sentence. And then you want to conjugate it correctly. You want it to reflect who it is that is walking or listening, etc. Okay. Same thing here. You just take the verb from the word bank, plug it in, and then you want to conjugate it. You need the spelling, like these, you want to change often you're going to need to change your ending, not all the time, but most of the time, to reflect who it is that is either learning or attending, etc. The times when you wouldn't is it following. Remember when you have things like tener que or gustar, when you have 2 verbs working together to express the same idea, only one of them gets conjugated. You don't conjugate both. We do that in English as well. We don't say like I need, I study. It's I need to study, and to study isn't conjugated. So you'll do the same thing here. So be careful if there's a scenario where a verb has already been conjugated, you need to leave your verb alone in its infinitive form. If, however, there are not 2 verbs expressing the same idea, then you need to change your verb, the ending, to reflect who it is that is attending, learning, etc. Okay, so that's the same thing that's going on here. You want to take the verbs and plug them into the blank. But because you are using gustar in all of these, you don't change the infinitive form. You don't change these verbs because that's a scenario where you've got 2 verbs working together to express the same idea, and gustar is already doing that. Here is vocabulary. It says an international student from Spain is helping you review for your exam in Spanish class. He wrote some sentences in Spanish but left out important vocabulary words. Complete each sentence with the correct words from the list. So you're just going to take the word from the list and plug them in where they should go. And that's everything that you have to do for this test.